Today we're doing trigonometry. You'll find missing sides of right triangles given angle measurements. The key thing here is to remember Sokotoa. Sokotoa is an Indian princess. Sokatoa. Sokatoa. If you can remember Sokatoa, you will be able to find missing sides of right triangles given angle measurements. So, sine, and it's actually spelt S-I-N-E. OPP is the opposite over the adjacent. All of these are written as ratios. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The next one, ca, which is actually cosine, but you just write it as cos, C-O-S, is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So if you notice, sine and cosine, they actually use this side of the hypotenuse. And the last one is tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. Now I'm going to draw a right triangle, and it only works in right triangles. If you don't have a right triangle, you cannot find any side given an angle. And the key thing is, it's always based on where the angle is. So I'll call this angle right here. If this is the angle, this is the hypotenuse right here, that slanted side. These two sides that form a right angle, those are called legs. So this is the hypotenuse always, and these are the legs. Now, based on the angle, the side that's opposite the angle, that's opposite. The side that's adjacent, which is touching it right next to it, that one's adjacent. So adjacent, opposite, adjacent, opposite. Let's go ahead and do the first one. The first thing I always do is I actually write so ka toa. So using these three will help me decide, am I using sine, cosine, or tangent. So rule number one, look at the angle. The angle tells us whether I'm using opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Step two, what side is given? And number three, what, oh, I don't think I can spell, what side you need to find. So based on this angle right here, what side is given? If you notice, 19 meters is given. From the angle, 19 meters is the opposite side. So I'm just going to write OPP for opposite. Based on the angle, what side I need is X. If you notice, this is the adjacent side. Adjacent. Well, which of these, Sokotoa, sine, cosine, tangent, actually uses opposite, adjacent? Look for the O and the A. The O and the A. Well, sine uses opposite and hypotenuse, so that's not it. Cosine uses adjacent, hypotenuse, that's not it. So we're looking for tangent, opposite, adjacent. So the tangent of 38 degrees is equal to, recall that it's a ratio, opposite over the adjacent. Opposite over the adjacent. Well, again, what's opposite 19? Adjacent is the x. Now the first thing you want to do is find the tangent of 38 degrees. This is where you need your calculator. So the tangent of 38 degrees is, it's actually 0.781285,627, but I usually round it to the nearest thousandth. So tangent of 38 degrees is 0.7813. That's equal to 19 over x. Now here's the cool part. You set up a proportion. When you do the proportion, you're using cross products. These two multiply, so 0.7813 times x is equal to 19 times 1. Again, what's the opposite, the inverse of multiplying by 0.7813? It's dividing. So you're going to divide both sides by 0.7813. Those cancel out, and x is equal to approximately, because you always estimate, and we always round to the nearest hundredth. So 19 divided by 0.7813 is approximately 24.32 meters. So that's how long that missing side is. So let's go ahead and do another one. Again, the first thing I write is SOHCAHTOA. Based on this angle right here, what did they give me? They gave me the hypotenuse. So I'm just going to write HYP for hypotenuse. Based on the angle, I'm looking for x. Well, is x opposite or is it adjacent? It's exactly opposite that angle. So I'm looking for opposite. So which one of these has an O and H? If you notice, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm using sine. So the sine of 41 degrees is equal to, now just because I wrote hypotenuse first and opposite, this is the ratio, opposite over the hypotenuse. Opposite is x, hypotenuse is 31.6. Again, let's find the sine of 41. The sine of 41 is 0.6561 is equal to x over 31.6. Again, set up your proportion, that's why you put it over 1. You actually wind up multiplying these two. So 0.6561 times 31.6, that's equal to, and I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth, 20.73 is approximately equal to, and 1 times x is actually just x. So the length of this side right here is 20.73 meters right here. And if you notice in any right triangle, the two legs have to be smaller than the hypotenuse. Let's do another one. I write SOHCAHTOA. Again, look at your angle. If you notice, what they gave me is this number. And if you notice, here's my right angle. So these are my two legs. So one of these is adjacent, one of these is opposite. This is adjacent, so I'm looking for adjacent. And based on this angle, what I'm looking for is the hypotenuse. They gave me the adjacent, I'm looking for the hypotenuse. Well, what has adjacent hypotenuse? AH, cosine. So the cosine of 31 degrees is equal to, again, here's my ratio, adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is 27.4 divided by x. go ahead and find the cosine of 31. That is 0.8572 is equal to 27.4 over x. Go ahead and put that over 1 to do your proportion. Going to multiply these two. 0.8572x is equal to this multiplied, which is 27.4. And again, you want to do the inverse, which is why you divide by 0.8572. These cancel out. I'll bring this over here. X is equal to 31.96 meters. That's the hypotenuse. I'm going to do 3 more with you. Again, the angle, they gave me the opposite. I'm writing O. They gave me the hypotenuse. That's what I'm looking for. The hypotenuse. So I need sine. The sine of 47 degrees is equal to opposite over the adjacent, opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of 47 is 0.7314. Put this over 1. Do cross products. It's equal to 40. The inverse is divide by 0.7314. Now, take a guess what the hypotenuse has to be. You know for a fact it has to be more than a certain number, because the two legs, first of all, have to be smaller than the hypotenuse. And since one of the legs is 40, we know it has to be smaller than 40. Larger than 40. And x is equal to, 54.69 meters. Do a few more, and then we'll be done. Angle, they gave me the hypotenuse. I'm looking for the adjacent. I'm looking for the adjacent, got the hypotenuse. Cosine. Cosine 61 degrees is equal to adjacent, which is x, over 89.5. Cosine 61.4848. X over 89.5. Put that over 1. Cross products, what actually winds up happening, just multiply the two, 0.4848 times 89.5, and that does give me 43.39 meters. Last one. My angle, they didn't give me the hypotenuse at all, so I know for a fact it's going to be tangent. Tangent's the only one that doesn't deal with the hypotenuse. So the tangent of 18 degrees, well, TOA, so opposite goes on top. The opposite is 2.3. Here's my x. Tangent of 18 is 0.3249. 2.3 over x. Put that over 1. I'm using cross products. 0.3249x is equal to 2.3. Divide both sides. Notice all my work I'm doing. I'm not just grabbing a calculator and spitting out answers. And x is equal to 7.08 meters. Our next lesson will be, and it's pretty cool, right now you just found missing sides. Well, what happens if I give you the sides? But now you got to find out what that angle is. And no, we're not using a protractor. So for our next lesson, that's what we'll be doing. See you later. Bye.